Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here. This is another quick one-take video. Um, video. um, this is not a reaction or thoughts video or speculation video or anything. This is a discussion, but it's more about me. It's more of a kind of a vent kind of a situation where I'm gonna vent about probably what is now the second worst cinema experience I've had, or second or third worst cinema experience I've ever had. And that is when I saw The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It on this past Saturday, the 19th of June 2021. It's now currently Monday, the 21st of June 2021. At time of recording, I've just finished filming my review of this film, and I do cover this experience at the end of that. I'm going to go into a bit more detail here. Well, I say a bit more detail. There's not really much detail, but I'm going to talk a bit more about it here, if that makes sense. But warning for that, for the review, that will a bit of discussion about this will be mentioned at the end of that. But yes, so a little bit of context before this video. Well, I say one take video. There might be some pauses, but that I do manually. But anyway, context before this, I had the worst cinema experience I had ever had on Saturday, the 9th of November 2019. The worst cinema experience so far when I went to see Doctor Sleep. It was a late night screening. It's a long movie, so I was going to be there for about 2.5 hours, plus about another 20 or 30 minutes due to adverts. And I was at the back of the screening, in the premium seats, although the prices were about the same at that time. And there were some other people, including a whole bunch of, I hate to say this, some teenagers or young adults, and they came in. There was a whole group of them that sat along the road, and some of them came in a little bit late. And this wouldn't normally be a problem, but some of them, quite a few of them, especially the one or two that came late, were quite disruptive. They were just on their phones, listening to music. They might have had a little bit of chat to them. I don't remember if they chatted to each other. And yeah, there was just a couple of them that were a bit disruptive. Not all of them. I don't think all of them were disruptive, but there was definitely quite a few, especially the ones immediately to me. The next couple ones on my right. There wasn't any on my left, but there was definitely a couple on my right, immediately to my right, that were being a bit disruptive or just not paying attention to the movie. And I was trying to enjoy this movie. I did enjoy the movie. I thought Doctor Sleep was a fantastic film. It was a 10. I gave it 10 out of 10, and it was one of my favorite films from 2019. But the experience, as I mentioned in both my original video on that, and maybe also briefly in the Doctor Sleep review itself, is because I did do a video on this back in 2019. I filmed it just after the Doctor Sleep review, or just before, and it went out just before the review itself came out. But yeah, as I mentioned in that video, I just had the worst cinema experience ever. And it wasn't just these people on the side. There was other people in this audience, including some adults, clearly a couple years old, if not 10, 20 years older than us in this back row. And there was some people just, on their phones, and some of them went out, and I don't know what they went out for. I don't know if they went to the loo or something, or to get or something. I don't know, but someone went out and then they came back for a bit, and they just went out and back in again. Maybe they went for the loo. I'm not sure, but I thought maybe it might have been two of them. It might have been two people. That's why I'm getting a bit miffed. But yeah, there was quite a few disruptive people in that screening that day, and the worst offenders were the people who or person who came in late and then put music in their ears and did up their jackets and hoodies and stuff. And I was thinking, you came to watch this movie. You're already late to watch this movie, and now you're just putting music in and zipping up your jumper. It wasn't even that cold. Maybe outside it was cold because it was November, but inside it wasn't even that cold. Or at least I don't remember it being that cold anyway. But this guy and maybe some others, they did stuff that I felt like they could have just done at home. They didn't have to watch this movie. They could have put on any movie or any television show or anything else, and they could have, or not even bothered putting something on. They could have just sat at home listening to music, and sit there maybe watching a screen or something. I don't know. But yeah, they chose to come to a cinema to watch a new movie on the big screen. We're in public, and they just do something they could easily do at home by themselves. That's actually a little bit disrespectful to those else in the screening, mainly those who are immediately beside them or behind them. It's not too much of a problem for those in front because they won't see them unless they look round. But for those looking on upon them or are within a close proximity to them, and this is before COVID happened, so we were allowed to get close to strangers at that time. Um, yeah, this is just not fair on people. Right, what happened this time round? Okay, so this time around we didn't really get so many people on the phones or listening to music and stuff, but I definitely had lots of people giggling and sniggling and just being a little bit silly. Maybe that's a defense mechanism for seeing scary stuff in the film, but I just had I was kind of sandwiched between two big groups. A group that took out about 2 rows in front of me, maybe some others a little bit to the left, a few seats down, and also a row of girls behind me. Most of the ones in front were boys, but there was 1 or 2 girls as well, and there was a few boys and maybe a few girls a little bit further down my row. Thankfully, they weren't too close to me this time, not only due to restrictions, but also the seats had there was a few more than 1 seat gap between me and the other small number. I think, yeah, I think there was a few seats, not just due to COVID restrictions, but also the fact that they just were a bit further up the end of the row. And this time I was on the right hand side. This time it was a right and middle left. No, it was right and left side. And I think the other screen was right, left, middle, but the back is done in kind of a one, and also the front rows are all kind of done in one as well. With this one, it was front, left, and right, maybe, and also the back row itself. But this time around, I just had constant giggling from this row of girls, especially ones to the left and left hand side, back left. Just giggling throughout, and also some of the front ones, especially the row directly in front of me, they were having a few giggles and laughs throughout. And then the row in front of them, one on the left, was having was on their phone a few times throughout the screening. So I could see down there that they were on their phone a few times throughout. Even though they'd been asked to turn their phone off by the cinema screenings, they had all the time during the previews and the trailers and the adverts and pre-film stuff to look at everything and turn off the phones at the end. But again, people just bloody ignore cinema signs. Same about cleaning up. They caused a lot of a mess. They left a lot of a mess for a poor cinema attendant worker to clean up after. So I feel so sorry to that guy when I passed him. I even apologised on behalf of everybody else because they had left such a massive mess. I didn't have to, but I just felt sorry for the guy. He had to clean it all up. And so I had to personally apologise for everybody else. Thankfully, I did not cause a mess, so that's one less person to clean up after. Not to blow my trumpet or anything, but yeah, I just feel so sorry for that guy. But that was after the film had finished. No, during the film, it was mainly everybody just laughing and giggling, and that's understandable. It's a defense mechanism for scary film. You see something scary, you try to laugh at it because you're actually scared, so you try to laugh it off. But they laughed or giggled during quieter moments, during moments that weren't scary, that were mostly focused on the characters, doing around their investigations, maybe a couple more romantic stuff and more character-driven stuff. As I mentioned in the review, there's some points that we followed the investigation that don't really have a huge amount of scariness in them. There's a few points where the scares knock up a little bit, but for the most part, it's mostly in the investigation or character-driven moments, etc. Those bits aren't supposed, apart from a few occasions, those aren't the scariest moments. And yet, the audience was still on my side of the screening, were still giggling throughout the entire fucking film. Look, the scary moments, and also for those goofy moments with that goofy demon-possessed mixture of bodies I mentioned in the review. Okay, I can understand those bits being laughable because it's a bit goofy, and also the funny moments like when Ed has an occasional funny line, but apart from that, please don't giggle throughout an entire bloody movie, even if it's a defense mechanism for being scared. Don't giggle throughout or a little quiet chattering amongst yourselves for an entire fucking movie. It's so annoying, and to other audiences who just want to watch the movie, they want to watch the film. Yeah, it's understandable you laugh in the face of frightening stuff, but when there's no frightening stuff on screen, you don't have to go giggle, 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 or ha 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 throughout. This isn't a comedy. If it was a comedy, that would make sense, but it was just frustrating because I'm trying to watch this movie and I'm just constantly behind and in front of me, giggles, laughters, and it just feels like I'm trying to watch this film and trying to enjoy this film. I did enjoy the film, but again, I'm trying to watch a movie here. You could, if you wanted to giggle and stuff like that, you could have done that at home or in the park. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, not too many people are still allowed inside the house. But so go to the park and do this then, instead of the movie theatre, the cinema, etc. And again, someone on their phone a few times throughout the movie. It wasn't as bad as the ones from Doctor Sleep, but it's just, I just got so fed up with all the giggling and the sniggering in the film. It annoyed me when they were starting doing it in the first scene, and that scene was that was a very scary scene at the start. So I was thinking, okay, scary stuff's over for now. You can shut up until the next one comes along, because then maybe you'll be giggling because of it's scary, so that it's a defense mechanism or something. I don't know, but in the quieter moments, you can shut up. And they didn't shut up throughout the entire film. Even in the credits, they were giggling as they were on their way out. They giggled just before they left. I will admit, I did look around, glare at some of them at the end. I was like, ugh. And they were probably wondering what the heck that was all about. Well, so if anyone knows those girls or boys at the screening who went on Saturday, the night screening for the 10 to 8 p.m., and that's night hat would be 1950 in 24 hours clock, screening of The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It at Bishop Stortford Empire Cinemas. And you were on the right-hand side row of screen 6, and if you saw me glaring at you, then, well, you were being disruptive. That's why. That's why I was glaring at you. If any of those people were watching, and if for those who weren't there, the reason I ended up glaring at a couple of people is because I wanted to watch this bloody film, and they were being disruptive throughout the film. So I was annoyed, and yeah, but I wasn't going to make a huge fuss about it. So I just glared occasionally. So yeah, I mean, I didn't stare or anything. It was just the occasional look round, glance, glare, back, occasionally. But yeah, I think this experience has taught me, alongside the Doctor Sleep one, it's taught me never to go and see a horror film on a Saturday night at the cinema, because I can't really say about the other horror film experiences, but those I don't think were Saturdays. It's chapters 1 and 2. I think I saw those on Tuesdays. Those were fine. I think those were the only other horror films that I can remember going to see, in honesty, besides the Conjuring 2, which I think was also Tuesday. I think I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that one wasn't a bad experience. In fact, that was a pretty great experience there. And the It films, again, I didn't have this problem with those two films. And I've had the odd bad cinema experience with some people, especially with Boss Baby. At the very end of that film, there were some little kids running around the bottom of the screen. Yeah, but at least, and they might have been a bit disruptive throughout the film as well. But in terms of the worst audience, it's still Doctor Sleep. But I think this one comes a pretty close second. So from now on, at least whilst I remember to, I am not going to see a horror film at the cinema on a Saturday night. Maybe on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning or another day. Evenings on another day. But in terms of Saturday nights, that's it. I'm not seeing any more horror films on a Saturday night because I won't get to have a good cinema experience if I do. I might, even if I enjoyed the film, I won't get a good experience at the screen because of a disruptive audience. So, and I kind of encourage people not to go on a Saturday night to see a horror film because you might get some people like who I had this time around and would not sleep, just being fucking disruptive. What's kind of worse is that this one actually does kind of put Doctor Sleep in a competition, but I think because I was more pissed off with that one's cinema experience than this time around, then I think that one is still the worst one because I was more pissed off about what the other members of the audience were doing. But this is a very close second, especially as I was kind of like a sandwich in between lots of giggling and sniggering people, and it went on throughout the entire movie. I actually had points where I wanted to turn around and ask why they were doing this, and actually I wanted to turn around and tell them, or turn around to the back people, go over to the front people, and just ask them to be quiet, or tell them to be quiet, or just go into a full round rant about how there are audiences who want to watch this movie and what they're doing they can easily do at home or somebody else, and disrupting everybody else. But frankly, I managed to keep it to myself. I managed to watch the movie, and like I said, I enjoyed the movie. And of course, I can always vent to you guys later on down the line. But yeah, so a little bit of spoilers for the review of Conjuring 3. Great film, really liked it. I didn't like it as much as the second film. Well, a very tiny little itty-witty. I think the second film's an itty-witty little bit better than the third. Can't comment on the first or the spin-offs, but I think this is a great film. I like the second one a little bitty more, but yeah, brilliant film. Totally recommend checking it out. Just don't go on a Saturday night to see it. And, well, at the cinema at least. If you're watching it at home, then that's fine. Depending on who's there, of course. But, yeah, as for cinema screenings, don't go Saturday night. Go Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning if they've got some morning screenings. Or go on another day. But don't watch it on a Saturday night. Maybe avoid Friday nights as well, come to think of it. Sunday nights might be okay. You might be okay with Sunday nights, and then any other night should be okay. But don't go on a Saturday night. Don't ever see a horror film on a Saturday night. Unless it's Halloween, but even then, you can always wait till the 1st of November. Or go and see it on the 30th. So, yeah, that's my vent, maybe even a rant, about the second worst cinema experience I've ever seen. Review of The Conjuring 3 shall be coming soon. It's been recorded, and I shall see you guys for that, and then for whatever else comes up next. See you guys next time. Goodbye.